The book of Leviticus is a central text in the Hebrew Bible. It contains laws and rituals for the ancient Israelites. A significant portion of this book is known as the Holiness Code. This code is found in chapters 17 through 26. Its primary purpose was to guide the people of Israel. It showed them how to live a life that was considered holy. This meant being set apart and dedicated to God. The laws covered many aspects of daily life, from sacrifices to social justice, all aimed at creating a community that reflected divine sanctity and order. Leviticus 18 holds a particularly important place within the Holiness Code. This chapter focuses specifically on matters of sexual morality. For the ancient Israelites, defining proper sexual conduct was crucial. It was deeply intertwined with their understanding of themselves as a distinct people. These laws were not simply about personal behavior, they were fundamental to maintaining the religious and social identity of the community. The regulations outlined in this chapter help to shape what it meant to be an Israelite, living in covenant with their God, Yahweh, in a world of differing customs. The laws presented in Leviticus 18 were not intended to be arbitrary restrictions. Instead, they served a vital function. They were designed to differentiate the Israelites from the cultures that surrounded them. Peoples like the Egyptians and the Canaanites had very different practices. This distinction was not merely cultural. It was profoundly theological. It was central to the covenant relationship Israel believed they had with God. By adhering to these specific moral guidelines, they were demonstrating their commitment to this unique covenant and their separation for a divine purpose. The implications of these laws were far-reaching, impacting both religious observance and social structure. They provided a framework for family life. They also established community standards for behavior. The concept of holiness in this context meant more than just ritual purity. It encompassed moral integrity and being set apart for God's service. Living according to these divine statutes was seen as essential for the well-being and stability of the entire nation. It was a pathway to living in God's presence and experiencing divine blessing, ensuring the community thrived. The opening verses of Leviticus 18, specifically verses 1 through 5, set a commanding tone. God speaks directly to Moses, instructing him to convey a crucial message to the Israelites. They are explicitly warned not to emulate the practices of Egypt. Egypt was the land where they had recently been enslaved. This command was a call to leave behind the cultural and religious influences of their past oppressors. It marked a new beginning, demanding a new way of life under God's specific guidance, a clear break from pagan influences. Furthermore, the Israelites were also instructed not to adopt the customs of the land of Canaan. Canaan was the land they were promised and about to enter. This was a preemptive warning. It aimed to prevent them from assimilating into the existing cultural landscape, which was viewed as morally corrupt by the biblical writers. The divine instruction was clear. God's ways were to be their ways, distinct and separate from those of the nations around them. This required conscious effort and a commitment to a different set of values and practices, preserving their unique identity. The core message of these introductory verses is one of unwavering obedience to God's own statutes and rules. Verse 5 is particularly significant. "You shall therefore keep my statutes and my rules. If a person does them, he shall live by them. I am the Lord." This powerful statement links adherence to divine law directly with life itself. It suggests that true life, a life of flourishing and divine favor, is found in obedience. The phrase "I am the Lord" underscores the authority behind these commands, reminding them of their divine sovereign. This initial section of Leviticus 18 effectively establishes the foundation for the detailed laws that follow. It asserts divine authority as the sole source of legitimate moral guidance for Israel. It also starkly highlights the perceived dangers of cultural assimilation. By rejecting the ways of Egypt and Canaan, the Israelites were called to embrace a unique identity defined by their covenant with God. This separation was not just about outward practices, it was about an inward orientation towards holiness and devotion to their unique deity, ensuring their spiritual survival. Following the initial call to reject foreign customs, Leviticus 18 proceeds to outline an extensive list of forbidden sexual unions. These laws were meticulously detailed. Their primary aim was to protect the integrity of the family unit. The family was the cornerstone of ancient Israelite society. By clearly defining permissible and impermissible relationships, these regulations sought to maintain social order and stability. They were also understood as crucial for preserving the sanctity of the community as a whole, reflecting God's desire for an ordered creation. A significant portion of these prohibitions addresses incestuous relationships. The text is remarkably specific in listing relatives with whom sexual relations were forbidden. This includes one's mother, stepmother, sister, half-sister, granddaughter, aunt, and daughter-in-law. The prohibition also extended to relations with a woman and her daughter, or a woman and her son's daughter, or her daughter's daughter. These comprehensive rules were designed to prevent the confusion of kinship lines. They also aimed to protect vulnerable individuals within the family from exploitation, ensuring clear generational boundaries. Beyond incest, Leviticus 18 condemns several other sexual practices. Adultery, defined as sexual relations with another man's wife, is strongly forbidden. This protected marital bonds and the stability of households. The chapter also condemns the practice of sacrificing children to the god Molech, a ritual associated with some Canaanite cults. Furthermore, sexual relations between two men are explicitly prohibited. Bestiality, or sexual acts with animals, is also listed among the forbidden practices, considered a defilement for both the human and the animal involved, a perversion of the created order. These various prohibitions were not viewed merely as rules about individual private conduct. They carried profound communal significance. They were understood as essential for maintaining the ritual and moral purity of the entire nation of Israel. These laws reflected a deep concern for order, sanctity, and the distinctiveness of God's people. Adherence to these sexual ethics was seen as a vital part of upholding their covenant relationship with God. They were foundational for creating a society that mirrored divine holiness, ensuring a respectful and just community. The latter part of Leviticus 18, specifically verses 24 through 30, delivers a solemn and stern warning to the Israelites. They are emphatically cautioned not to defile themselves by engaging in any of the previously listed forbidden sexual practices. The concept of defilement here is potent. It implies a state of impurity that makes one unfit for the presence of a holy God. It also suggests that such actions have a contaminating effect, not just on the individual, but on the community and even the land itself, disrupting the sacred order. The text dramatically illustrates this point by referring to the fate of the previous inhabitants of Canaan. It states that these nations were vomited out by the land because they had defiled it with their abominable practices. This graphic imagery serves as a powerful cautionary tale for Israel. It underscores the idea that the land itself possesses a certain sanctity. It can react to the moral conduct of its inhabitants. The message was clear. The same fate could befall the Israelites if they followed similar paths of transgression, regardless of their chosen status. The consequences for disobedience, therefore, were presented as extremely severe. If the Israelites engaged in these forbidden sexual acts and thereby defiled themselves and the land, the text warns that the land would also vomit them out. This starkly emphasizes their covenant responsibility. Their continued presence and prosperity in the Promised Land were not unconditional. They were intrinsically linked to their faithfulness in observing God's laws. This created a strong incentive for communal adherence to the moral and ritual requirements laid out by their divine sovereign. The chapter concludes by powerfully reiterating the call for Israel to diligently keep God's statutes and rules. This observance was presented as absolutely essential for them to remain a distinct and holy people. Their moral and ritual purity was paramount. It formed the very foundation of their unique identity as God's chosen nation, set apart from all other peoples. By adhering to these laws, particularly concerning sexual ethics, Israel aimed to maintain its covenant relationship with God. This ensured their spiritual integrity and their unique calling in the ancient world.